The human paid her bath fee, and the alien beauty chose him as her skin cleaner. The crystalline bathhouse lived up to its reputation. Marcus stepped through the arched entrance, and the warm, mineral-scented air immediately began unknotting the tension in his shoulders. 3 months piloting a cargo freighter solo through the outer reaches had left him exhausted, and Velthronine's famous resort district seemed like the perfect place to finally decompress. The lobby shimmered with bioluminescent tiles that shifted from azure to violet, casting dancing shadows across the various species lounging on silk cushions. Marcus approached the check-in counter, already reaching for his credit chip, when raised voices caught his attention. "I'm telling you, the transfer should have cleared." The frustration in the melodic voice was unmistakable. Marcus turned toward the payment terminals and froze. A woman stood with her back to him, her posture rigid with embarrassment. But it wasn't her body language that captured his attention. It was her skin. Deep purple, the color of twilight on his home planet, with an almost luminescent quality that seemed to glow softly in the bathhouse lighting. Long black hair cascaded down her back in thick, lustrous waves that swayed as she gestured at the terminal. "I apologize, but without confirmed payment, I cannot authorize your entry," the attendant said, not unkindly but firmly. The purple-skinned woman's shoulders sagged. "My research grant was supposed to deposit yesterday. There must be a delay from the Zephyr Nebula banking network." Marcus found himself walking toward them before he'd consciously made the decision. "Excuse me," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. "I couldn't help overhearing. Would you allow me to cover the fee?" She turned, and Marcus felt his breath catch. Her face was elegant and striking, with high cheekbones and eyes the color of polished obsidian that widened in surprise. Those dark eyes studied him with an intensity that made him feel simultaneously exposed and seen. You do that." Her voice carried an accent he couldn't place, musical and slightly breathy. "You don't even know me." Marcus shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "Call it a random act of kindness. We all hit rough patches. The universe should have more people willing to help each other out." Her expression softened, and something shifted in those dark eyes, surprise melting into cautious warmth. "That's incredibly generous. The fee is 500 credits. "Not a problem." Marcus pressed his chip to the terminal, authorizing the payment without hesitation. In truth, 500 credits would normally give him pause, but something about this woman's evident distress moved him in ways he didn't fully understand. The attendant processed the transaction and handed them each a crystalline key. "Bath Chamber 7 for you, sir. And madam, you have the right to choose your skin cleaner as the recipient of paid services. Will you be selecting from our professional staff?" The purple-skinned woman looked at the key in her hand, then at Marcus. A small smile played at the corners of her full lips. "Actually, I'd like to choose him." She gestured toward Marcus. "If he's willing, of course." Marcus blinked, completely unprepared for this development. I'm not a professional. I'm just a trader who—" "You showed me kindness when you had no reason to," she interrupted, her voice gentle but certain. "That means more than professional training. Besides, it's tradition here. The one who pays chooses, and I choose you." She extended her hand. "My name is Cynthia." Her hand was warm when Marcus took it, her grip confident. "Marcus. And I'd be honored, though I should warn you I have no idea what I'm doing." Cynthia's smile widened, transforming her face from merely striking to genuinely beautiful. "Then I'll teach you. It's not complicated, just water, oils, and attention. The bathhouse provides everything else." As they walked toward Chamber 7 together, Marcus wondered what exactly he'd just gotten himself into. But looking at Cynthia's profile, seeing the relief and something else, curiosity, maybe even attraction, in her sidelong glances, he found he didn't particularly care about the answer. Sometimes the best journeys were the ones you never planned. Chamber 7 exceeded Marcus's expectations. The space was vast and private, with walls of polished stone that seemed to absorb sound, creating an intimate cocoon. In the center, a large circular pool steamed gently, its water a milky turquoise that glowed from beneath. Shelves along one wall held an array of bottles, brushes, and folded linens. Cynthia moved to the shelves with practiced ease, selecting items and explaining each one. This oil is from the Carithian moons, excellent for relaxation. And this soap dissolves tension in the muscles. She glanced back at Marcus, who stood awkwardly near the entrance. You can undress behind that screen. There are wraps provided. Marcus's throat went dry. Right. Of course. When he emerged wrapped in a simple white cloth, Cynthia was already in the pool, the water reaching her collarbones. Her black hair floated around her like dark silk, and the steam made her purple skin glisten. She gestured to the pool's edge. Start with my hair, if you would. There's a carved seat right behind me. Marcus lowered himself into the water, perfectly heated, and positioned himself on the submerged seat. This close, he could see the subtle variations in Cynthia's skin tone, darker purple along her shoulders, lighter near her neck. He reached for the soap she'd indicated, his hands trembling slightly. I really haven't done this before, he admitted. Then we're even. I've never had a complete stranger pay my way and then agree to wash my hair. She tilted her head back, letting her hair flow into the water. Why did you help me, Marcus? Truly. He gathered her hair, marveling at its weight and texture, thicker than human hair, almost like raw silk. I've been alone for a long time, he said quietly, working the soap into a lather. Flying cargo routes, keeping to myself. Somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like to connect with people. When I saw you frustrated at that terminal, I wanted to do something good. Something that mattered. Cynthia was silent for a moment as his fingers worked through her hair, massaging her scalp with growing confidence. She let out a soft sigh of pleasure. That feels wonderful. And for what it's worth, it mattered to me. More than you know. What brings a botanist to Velthra 9? Marcus asked, guiding her head back to rinse the soap away. Desperation, mostly. Her laugh was rueful. My research vessel had a coolant leak 3 days ago. The repair depot here is one of the few in this sector that stocks compatible parts, but they won't be available for another week. I've been burning through my emergency funds on accommodation and necessities. Today was supposed to be a small luxury before I resign myself to sleeping in my ship. Marcus applied the Carithian oil to her shoulders, and Cynthia's muscles melted beneath his touch. He worked slowly, carefully, learning the landscape of her body through his fingertips. What kind of botanical research? Adaptive species for terraform projects. I collect samples from extreme environments, radiation zones, frozen moons, volcanic systems, and study how they survive. The goal is to help establish sustainable ecosystems on colony worlds. Her voice grew animated despite her relaxed state. It's solitary work, but important. At least, I tell myself it's important. You sound uncertain. Cynthia turned slightly, meeting his eyes. My family thinks I'm wasting my potential. I was engaged once, to another scientist. He valued my research achievements but found the actual me inconvenient. Too emotional, he said. Too distracted by beauty when I should focus on data. She paused. After we separated, I took the most remote assignment I could find. I've been alone for 2 years. Marcus's hands stilled on her shoulders. I ran too. Bad breakup on Earth. 5 years ago. She wanted stability, a home, children. I wanted adventure. Neither of us was wrong, but we couldn't bridge that gap. So I became a trader, kept moving, told myself I was living free instead of running scared. And were you? Living free? No, Marcus admitted. I was hiding. Cynthia reached back, her hand finding his and squeezing gently. Thank you for your honesty. And for this. She gestured at the bath, the oil, his careful ministrations. I haven't felt cared for in so long. I'd forgotten what it was like. Marcus squeezed back, something warm unfurling in his chest. Neither had I. They stayed like that for a long moment, connected by touch and unexpected understanding. The steam swirled around them, and Marcus realized that this chance encounter was becoming something neither of them had anticipated. Something that felt dangerously like hope. The rooftop garden of the Celestial Vista Hotel was a masterpiece of xenobotany, exactly the kind of place Marcus had suspected Cynthia would appreciate. Bioluminescent flowers from a dozen worlds created a canopy of soft light, while crystalline wind chimes sang in the evening breeze. Twin moons hung in the purple-black sky, casting silver shadows across their table. Cynthia looked radiant in a simple dress the color of midnight, her black hair now dry and flowing freely down her back. Her eyes sparkled as she sampled a dish of Theronian sea fruits. "This is incredible. How did you find this place?" "I asked the bathhouse attendant for the most beautiful restaurant on Velthra 9, Marcus said, unable to stop smiling. Seemed appropriate for a botanist who studies beauty in extreme places. She looked at him over her glass, something tender in her expression. "You listened. People rarely actually listen." "Tell me more about your work," Marcus encouraged. "What's the most extreme environment you've studied?" Cynthia's whole demeanor changed, becoming animated and passionate. "There's a moon orbiting a gas giant in the Tyrrell system, Frost 7. Surface temperature averages -200 degrees, and it's bathed in constant radiation from the giant's magnetosphere. But there's this lichen, this impossible little organism, that grows in the ice caves. It's purple, actually." She touched her arm self-consciously. "Like me. It shouldn't exist, but it thrives. I spent 4 months studying it. 4 months alone on a frozen moon." Marcus shook his head in admiration. "That takes incredible dedication." "Or incredible avoidance," Cynthia said softly. "After my engagement ended, I wanted to be somewhere as cold as I felt inside. Ironic that I found the most resilient life form I'd ever encountered in that same coldness." She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. "What about you? What's the most memorable cargo you've hauled?" Marcus laughed, his hand turning to properly hold hers. "Nothing as noble as your work. Mostly, I ferry supplies to mining operations and frontier colonies. Although I once transported a pod of live aquatic specimens from Europa to a water world in the Andromeda sector. Spent 3 weeks listening to them sing through the hull. It was lonely, but beautiful." "You say lonely a lot," Cynthia observed gently. "Because I've been lonely a lot," Marcus admitted. "I thought independence would fill the empty spaces. It didn't." Cynthia stood, tugging his hand. "Dance with me." There was no music, just the gentle chiming of the crystals and the distant hum of the city below. Marcus rose and took her in his arms, and they swayed together under the twin moons. This close, he could smell her scent, something like rain and earth and growing things. Her head fit perfectly against his shoulder. "My fiancé never danced with me," she whispered. "Said it was frivolous." "Your fiancé was an idiot," Marcus said firmly, and Cynthia laughed, the sound pure and unguarded. She pulled back slightly to look up at him. "Marcus, I need to tell you something. In my culture, choosing someone as your skin cleaner it's intimate. It means you trust them, that you're open to connection. I wasn't sure you understood that when I chose you." His heart raced. "And if I told you I hoped it meant that? Then I'd say you hoped correctly." She rose on her toes, her face inches from his. "I haven't felt this way in years. It's terrifying and wonderful, and I have no idea where it can possibly go, but—" Marcus closed the distance between them, cutting off her words with a kiss. She melted into him immediately, her lips soft and warm, tasting of the sweet wine they'd shared. One of his hands tangled in her long black hair while the other pressed against the small of her back, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cynthia's eyes were bright. "I leave in a week. Maybe less." "I know. This is impossible." "Probably. But I don't want to walk away," she whispered. Marcus cupped her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Then don't. Not yet. Let's have this week. Let's have right now. We'll figure out the rest later." Cynthia kissed him again, deeper this time, and Marcus felt years of isolation cracking open, letting light flood in. Behind them, the bioluminescent flowers pulsed brighter, as if celebrating this connection between two lost souls who'd found each other in the most unexpected way. Take me back to your room, Cynthia murmured against his lips. I don't want this night to end. Marcus took her hand, and they left the rooftop garden together, both knowing they were stepping into territory that would change everything. But neither was running anymore. They were finally, beautifully, moving toward something instead of away. The docking bay smelled of ozone and lubricant, a familiar scent that Marcus had always associated with departure. Now, standing beside Cynthia's compact research vessel, it meant something different, possibility tinged with the threat of goodbye. Hand me the plasma wrench, Cynthia called from beneath the engine housing, her voice echoing in the cramped space. Marcus passed her the tool, admiring how she'd tied her black hair back with a strip of cloth, how smudges of grease decorated her purple arms. They'd spent the last 4 days like this, Marcus using his trader connections to source parts at a fraction of the depot's prices, Cynthia teaching him the intricacies of her vessel's hybrid drive system. You're a natural at this, she said, emerging from the engine compartment with a satisfied smile. Ever consider switching from hauling cargo to ship repair? I'm considering a lot of things lately. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag, then reached out to brush a smudge from her cheek. The casual intimacy of the gesture still thrilled him, how natural it had become to touch her, to exist in her space. Cynthia caught his hand, pressing it against her face. Marcus, we need to talk about what happens when the ship is ready. He'd been avoiding this conversation, but she was right. I know. The Zephyr Research Collective expects me back in 12 days. I have specimens that need cataloguing, reports to file. And you have contracts, trade routes that depend on you. Marcus pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. What if I told you I've been researching the Zephyr Nebula? There are 15 frontier research stations in that sector, all chronically undersupplied because most traders won't make the journey for small orders. Cynthia's eyes widened. You're not suggesting I could establish a dedicated supply route, partner with the research collective, provide regular shipments to all their stations. It wouldn't be charity, there's real profit potential, but it would mean. He hesitated, vulnerability catching in his throat. It would mean I'd have a reason to be near you, to see where this goes. Her hands came up to frame his face, and he saw tears gathering in her dark eyes. You'd change your entire business model for a chance with me. I'd change a lot more than that, Marcus said honestly. These past days with you, I felt more alive than I have in years. You make me want to stop running. You make me want to build something instead of just drifting. Cynthia kissed him then, urgent and desperate, and Marcus responded with equal intensity. They stumbled backward until Cynthia's back hit the bulkhead, and she pulled him against her, her body fitting perfectly against his. The ship can wait another hour, she breathed against his mouth. Marcus lifted her, and she wrapped herself around him as he carried her to the small living quarters at the vessel's stern. The cabin was cramped but comfortable, with a bed built into the wall and windows showing the starfield beyond. They undressed each other slowly, reverently, as if memorizing every curve and plane. Cynthia's purple skin was warm beneath Marcus's hands, and she gasped when he traced the darker patterns along her ribcage. He kissed the hollow of her throat, the curve of her shoulder, learning the geography of her body. I was so closed off before you, Cynthia whispered as Marcus lowered her to the bed. So convinced I had to be alone to be strong. Strength isn't isolation, Marcus murmured, kissing down her stomach. It's letting someone in even when it terrifies you. Their lovemaking was tender and exploratory, a conversation without words. Cynthia showed him how to touch her, what made her arch and sigh, and Marcus revealed his own vulnerabilities, the scars he carried, both visible and not. When they finally joined, it felt like more than physical connection. It felt like two souls recognizing their counterpart. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the narrow bed, Cynthia's black hair spilled across Marcus's chest. Her fingers traced lazy patterns on his skin. The station where I work, Outpost Verdant, it's beautiful, she said softly. We're studying bioformation on 3 nearby moons. There's a greenhouse where I cultivate samples. You'd like it. Tell me more. She painted pictures with words, crystalline observation domes, gardens floating in zero gravity, the quiet satisfaction of coaxing life from hostile environments. Marcus listened, already imagining himself there, helping her with her work, building a life that orbited around connection instead of escape. There's living quarters for support staff, Cynthia continued, her voice careful. If someone were to establish themselves as our primary supplier, they'd be welcome to maintain a residence there. Between supply runs. Marcus tilted her face up to his. Is that an invitation? It's a hope, she said. A terrifying, wonderful hope that maybe you meant what you said. That this isn't just a beautiful week we'll remember sadly. I meant every word. Marcus kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. I'll need a month to settle my current contracts, but after that, Cynthia, I want to try. Really try. Not just at business, but at us. She smiled, radiant and unguarded. Then we'll try together. They made love again as the stars wheeled past the viewport, and Marcus felt the last of his defenses crumble. He'd spent 5 years running from connection, convinced that freedom meant solitude. But here, in Cynthia's arms, he understood that true freedom was choosing to stay. 6 months later, Marcus guided his upgraded cargo vessel through the shimmering clouds of the Zephyr Nebula, the familiar coordinates of Outpost Verdant appearing on his navigation display. Home. The word still felt strange, but increasingly right. Outpost Verdant, this is the Wanderer's End requesting docking clearance, he transmitted, unable to keep the smile from his voice. Clearance granted, Wanderer's End. The station coordinator's voice was warm with recognition. Welcome back, Marcus. Dr. Cynthia has been watching for you all morning. Marcus's heart lifted as it always did when someone mentioned her. Tell her I'm bringing that mineral substrate she requisitioned, plus a surprise. The docking procedure was smooth. He'd done it dozens of times now, establishing himself as the reliable lifeline for all 15 research stations in this sector. His business had tripled, but more importantly, he'd found purpose beyond profit. These scientists were changing worlds, and he helped make that possible. Cynthia was waiting at the airlock, and Marcus's breath caught as it always did when he saw her. She wore her lab coat over casual clothes, her black hair braided down her back, and her smile lit up her entire face. You're early, she said, launching herself into his arms. Marcus caught her, spinning her around in the low gravity of the docking bay. Couldn't stay away. I missed you. 3 weeks is too long, Cynthia murmured, kissing him deeply. The greenhouse feels empty without you. Then let's fix that. Marcus set her down and retrieved a container from his cargo hold. I found something on Theta Station. The director there said you'd appreciate it. Cynthia opened the container and gasped. Inside, cushioned in specialized gel, was a small plant with translucent leaves that caught the light like prisms. Is this a stellar orchid? Marcus, these are almost extinct. The director's team found a surviving population on an asteroid colony. She thought you might want to attempt cultivation here. Marcus watched her face, loving how she glowed with scientific excitement. This is incredible. Cynthia cradled the container like precious treasure. Come on, we need to get this to the greenhouse immediately. The greenhouse was Marcus's favorite place on the station, a massive dome filled with specimens from across the galaxy, all carefully maintained in their optimal environments. He'd learned so much helping Cynthia here, developing an unexpected passion for her work. As Cynthia prepared a cultivation chamber for the orchid, Marcus moved through the familiar space, checking on projects he'd helped establish. The Frost 7 lichen colony was thriving, its purple tendrils spreading across a simulated ice environment. The volcanic moss from Pyros, 3 pulsed with bioluminescence. I have news, Cynthia said once the orchid was settled. She turned to face him, her expression serious but excited. The research collective wants to expand operations. They're planning 4 new stations in the outer reaches, and they want you to head up the entire supply network. Marcus's eyebrows rose. That's enormous. It means you'd need a larger ship, probably a small crew. And it means more time away. Cynthia came to him, taking his hands. But it also means we could request permanent quarters together. Make this official. The collective recognizes domestic partnerships. You'd have full station privileges, access to all facilities. Cynthia, are you asking me to move in with you? Officially. She laughed, the sound nervous and hopeful. I'm asking for more than that. I'm asking you to build a life here. With me. I know it's only been 6 months, but I've never been more certain of anything. Marcus pulled her close, his heart so full it ached. I sold my old apartment on Earth last month. Officially gave up my emergency backup plan. He kissed her temple. You're not my backup, Cynthia. You're my primary trajectory. My destination. Everything I didn't know I was searching for. So that's a yes. That's an absolutely, definitely, yes. Marcus kissed her properly, pouring 6 months of growing love and commitment into it. Though I have a condition. Cynthia raised an eyebrow. Oh. Next time I'm back from a supply run, I want you to marry me. Nothing fancy, just us, maybe the station crew as witnesses. But I want everyone to know you're mine and I'm yours. Tears spilled down Cynthia's purple cheeks, and she was nodding before he finished speaking. Yes. Yes to all of it. To partnership and marriage and building a life in this strange, beautiful corner of space. They held each other in the greenhouse, surrounded by life that shouldn't exist but thrived anyway through resilience and care. Marcus thought back to that day in the bathhouse, how a simple act of kindness had led him here, to a love he'd never imagined possible. I paid your bath fee, he murmured into her hair. Cynthia laughed through her tears. And I chose you as my skin cleaner. Best decision I ever made. Second best, Marcus corrected. The best decision is choosing each other every day after. Outside the greenhouse dome, the Zephyr Nebula painted the cosmos in shades of purple and gold, a constant reminder that the universe was vast and strange and full of unexpected connections. Marcus had spent years lost in that vastness, running from the very thing he needed most. But he wasn't running anymore. He was home, not in a place, but in Cynthia's arms, in the life they were building together, in the simple profound truth that sometimes the greatest adventures aren't about distance traveled but about the courage to stay. 3 months later, they married in the greenhouse under flowering vines from 12 different worlds. Marcus wore his best suit, Cynthia wore flowers in her black hair. The station crew cheered as they exchanged vows, promising to nurture their love the way Cynthia nurtured impossible life, with patience, dedication, and wonder at what could grow in even the most unlikely places. And in the years that followed, as Marcus built his supply empire and Cynthia made breakthrough after breakthrough in her research, they proved that the universe's most resilient creation wasn't any plant or organism. It was love, freely chosen and carefully tended, blooming impossibly beautiful in the infinite dark. The end.